On this AVNation special, we take a second look at the Experience United Social Club. XUSC takes place October 15th during New York Digital Signage Week. Also take a look at converting your connections online to connections in the real world. All that and more next on this AVNation special.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is an AVNation special, experiencing XUSC. This is an AVNation special. My name is Tom Albright. I am your host. What we're doing is we are previewing XUSC happening the week of October 14th during New York Digital Signage Week. We've done one of these already, and we'll put a link to that one in this episode as well. What we're going to do is we're going to grab a couple more people that are helping out with that and making that possible, that event possible. First and foremost, the organizer and kind of the brainchild of this whole thing, Mr. Brian Mazzaros from OpenEye Global. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Good. Also, the other side of that is Mr. Stephen Picanza from Latin and Code. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim, for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then some folks that some of these folks I've met for the first time, but others are our old friends. My old friend, Mr. Patrick May from Legrand. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Tim. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Also with us, a young lady I just met for the first time last week in Las Vegas with Avixa, Sam Minish. Welcome.
Thanks. Appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Jeff Everson. Jeff is from Dektronics. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here from South Dakota.
Yes. So what's happening here? And again, we've done this one before. I still want to do a kind of a primer to this, right? Brian, we'll start with you on this. We've done this for a year now. You've done this for a year now. You've done it both in New York now. This will be the second time in New York. You've done it at Digital Signage Expo, and also did it at Digital Signage Week in London. Real briefly, what is the thinking behind this event, and why are we gathering all these different types of people together?
Yeah, I think the whole thought behind it was just that we're all, so used to these traditional networking events, and you go and it's the terrible beer, it's the blue walls, and it's the finger foods, and it just doesn't seem to be that kind of exciting. And I think for an industry that prides itself on creating unique experiences, we should be thinking that way when we pull everyone together. And also too, it shouldn't just be necessarily industry related. We should open the doors to other groups that we collaborate with and have that opportunity to mingle and to talk and to collaborate in an environment where we just feel comfortable in. And so I think that was kind of where XUSC was born out of. And then I think, Pecans and I just continued to build on an idea and say, well, what is an atypical kind of event that we would like to go to, and what do we do on a Friday night, and how do we take what we like and build that into this kind of experience to where people would enjoy and feel comfortable and want to come out for the night to celebrate and also have just a unique experience. It's meant to be different.
Well, Stephen, let's pull you in on this because really the XUSC stands for the Experience United Social Club. This is you guys' fourth time doing this. The event itself is sold out. So let's start with that. However, we are raising some money for the Jerry Wolf Scholarship. Jerry is an integral part of Digital Signage and Digital Signage Foundation. But walk me through the experience, right? Walk me through, Brian mentioned the bad beer and the fact that we're having it at, it's at the Oktoberfest this year. Last year, it was the Halloween party. It was a costume party. So you guys put a lot of work and thought into making sure that people walk away from this, making it memorable, right?
We, Brian and I, during InfoComm in Orlando, Brian and I decided to take an expanded lunch and went to, I guess it was like downtown Disney or that whole area around there. I'm not really sure exactly where it was. and we were sitting, and I don't remember the bar, but we were having some really, really good old fashions, just thinking about New York. We just came off of doing an event in London at a shuffle club, had 110 people there. It was a totally awesome event. Blew our minds that we were going to have that much support. We're like, what can we do that's different, that's going to just make people think, look twice when they see the invite? And the idea of an Oktoberfest, New York Digital Signage Week is always in October. October in New York City is a great time of year to just feel the energy of the city, the lights, the sounds, the way the leaves are falling on the streets. And we like to have beer and eat good food. And just Oktoberfest just kind of hit us like a lederhosen, hits upon a good pair of bad joke right there. So anyway, then we were decided to, with that thought process, we started looking for a beer hall. We started looking for a place that we're going to house this, because the environment is so critical. I mean, it's what we talk about day in and day out, connecting people to place. And, and so we found Houston Hall, which is an actual beer garden, and they're German inspired for the month. And we said, okay, great. We're going to have that. We're going to have some great beer. We're going to have some great German food. But what else is synonymous with Oktoberfest? And that's where we found Merlina and the Oktoberfest band. And we're actually going to have a polka band as well to play music and to interact with the crowd and to mingle and to do something that really hasn't been done before during a New York Digital Signage Week.
Jeff and Patrick, I want to bring you guys in here from a manufacturer standpoint. And these guys have used the word experience a lot. X in XUSC is experience. Avixa has talked about this for, I'm going to say 4 years, and I could be slightly off on that. Dave Labuscas, shortly after he became the new CEO, started talking about experience. The board started talking about experience. Jeff, as one of the sponsors here, and the sponsors are, I should have said this at the beginning, it was Daktronics, SageNext, Snap Install, Legrand, Navori, Starin Marketing, is one of the sponsors and somebody who has been around both, Infocom and Digital Signage Expo and in ISC and all these other trade shows, as the industry is trying to push the idea that the experience is kind of the most important thing here. We start going into an event like this, an in-person networking event. How important is it that event, yes, it's in person, and yes, we can talk, in real space, but it's also part of it is making sure that the experience kind of sears into the people's, memory, to make sure that, when we meet in real life, that carries over into, what we do the next day or the next week with those connections.
Yeah, that's a really great point. When you go to enough networking events and you've been to enough trade shows, you meet a lot of people, you shake hands with a lot of people. Having an experience that really stands out in your mind puts you in a good place to recall the people that you meet, recall the conversations, but it's such a good time to just stop everything a little bit. We're all running 100 different directions at all times, and being able to have an event that's an experience that really stands out to you, it puts you in a different mindset, right? You drop all the other things that you're thinking about, working about, and the people that you meet, you get to really have some exciting conversations. And it's an opportunity both to hit people that you've already been building relationships with for a long time, and it's also an opportunity to meet some new people. And in the cases where you run into people, familiar faces, it's an opportunity to say, wow, remember those things that we need to talk about? I need to hit you up a couple things. So you either get it done then while you're having fun, or you say, let's set something up very soon. And that really stands out in your mind, right? It's something that in a week full of events like New York Digital Signage Week is, an event like this that really stands out is something that's going to be a great opportunity to pull people in and have some really creative discussions about that. I also want to say that I was in Munich for Oktoberfest about 2 years ago. And Brian, I'm expecting really big things here. Recreation of the Hofbrau tent. You've got a lot to live up to. But you know what? If this is the closest I'm going to get, then you know what? I'm excited for it. It's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to see who shows up and who we can have conversations with.
Can I just say this now? I just got in a pair of lederhosen, and I'm all set to go, and I'll be releasing that photo this week.
You ruined the surprise, Mazzaro.
So
ruined the surprise.
Is that no? If that helps set the tone for Jeff, then I'll sacrifice myself. Oh.
Last year during New York Digital Signage Week, Brian wore a Cookie Monster outfit for our event, and this year apparently he's even taking that up a notch. So get your iPhones ready. It's a tweetable moment.
I have nothing for that. Just Mazzaros and lederhosen right now. All right, Mr. May, same question to you. The brand has been on the board. If you guys are the longest exhibiting manufacturer at Infocom, you're one of the longest. Right? You're probably at least the top 5. So you guys have been doing this a long time, right? Connecting with folks and stuff like that. What an event like this for you guys in a hyper-focused week like New York Digital Signage Week? What are you expecting to pull out of this? Besides the actual experience.
I think for me, one of the main things that I like to get out of these events is it defocuses people a little bit from talking about what's going on in the industry, talking about their specific projects and things like that, and it brings people together in a more conversational type of manner. It helps us to kind of grow our relationships and further those relationships. And we can follow up on all of the business things that come as a result afterwards. But it's kind of a night where everybody can just kind of kick back, have a little bit of fun, enjoy themselves, and reinvigorate or reestablish or even grow those relationships that you have. So I think it's hugely beneficial to us in that perspective.
Well, Sam, Patrick makes a good point here about not just growing new ones, but reinvigorating connections you've made in the past.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big part of why we wanted to get involved because that as you guys have mentioned, there's so many different ways to engage and interact with people, and when you're focusing on your audience, a lot of times it's all about scale and growing, and but you've got to take the time to get together with folks and have those conversations. I really like the fact that this is, it's sort of a safe space, as you will, because we can all hang out, we can just drink some beer, we can eat some food, and, we can shoot the breeze on all the different things that come up. I mean, that we're all thinking about, but, you just don't always stop and just have a conversation about, either where the industry's going or this crazy thing that you came across or talking about some cool thing that you saw. So I really like the fact that it's this safe space to really sort of come together and just chill and hang out. So I'm very excited. I have not been to Oktoberfest in Munich, so
next best thing.
Easily pleased.
Neither have I, actually. So let me kind of pull a different turn here, guys. Brian, we'll start with you on this. A lot of folks that are connecting here, and I'm basing it off of last year's event, a lot of folks know each other on social media, right? For the AV industry, I'm going to go out on a slight limb here. The AV industry really utilizes Twitter really, really well for connections, for information. Our buddy hosts a weekly kind of open air conversation called AV in the AM every Sunday morning. Folks, are really, really, it's a good community. But a lot of folks, that's where they know each other, right? They know each other in social media. How do events like this take folks that know each other in social media, and that's the only world they know, and translate that into real world connections? Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think, honestly, I think Bakanza could probably remember this. I think that was sort of the first thought too. I think even with XUSC was there's all these great personalities and people that are out there, and it's like how do you pull them together to bring that banter into real life? I think we just sort of, you look at it, all these people have these personalities and ways that they try to communicate that through Twitter. But I think we're also kind of an industry where we like to, we communicate very differently. I think we're really good on Twitter and social, which is, I think, different than other industries. And I think that kind of, we took a gamble. We kind of thought that extends into this type of domain to where, we're kind of rebels. And this is sort of what the idea here is as well, is that we're just sort of this just group of rebels who are all, one way, shape, or form trying to push the industry further and unite. So, I think that's kind of where this whole, in some sense where XUSC kind of was born out of, is that, bring these personalities, bring this conversation to a real world, but set it in an environment that, we kind of felt was a little bit more conducive to those personalities. I mean, you wouldn't find, I know, Neto and the rest of us and all this, I mean, we'll show up at the regular networking events, but I think if you really had to push us where we would rather be, we'd rather be somewhere like this on a Friday in New York City than, necessarily in your, kind of corporate boardroom networking in a suit and tie. So I just think that's kind of how we felt with the personalities that are out there and the way that people were trying to express themselves, and, why stick with the status quo? Just keep it going and being rebellious and different.
All right, Steve, the same kind of question. How do you translate knowing somebody online to connecting with them and experience an event like this?
Sam said something that was fantastic about this being a safe zone. And to piggyback on what Brian was saying, this isn't where the suit and ties are, and this isn't where, you're walking in saying, I have a quota on networking and whatnot. I need to meet X people and walk out with X amount of meetings. This is more like, let's build something authentic, an authentic relationship. And sometimes social media could be so inauthentic that if we can expand that bridge in the real life, and make, hey, we used to tweet and now I'm shaking your hand. Now, for some reason, we have such a connection. We're friendly. Like, it's not just a meeting for the first time. It's just a gathering. It's like a homecoming event. And that's sort of, I guess, underneath the surface, what we really wanted to do is just make this, and because we're bringing in so many different groups, right? It's really our purpose. It's not just the AV world. The AV world is great on its own, but in order to make a great experience, you need to have it's a recipe, equal parts AV, equal parts design, equal parts branding. And like these three worlds, if we can somehow stir that pot a little bit and bring all these people together, just have a conversation. We're all kind of talking about the same thing. That's where the magic happens. And to be able to take that conversation from offline to, from online to offline, and then to be able to share that experience through photos, through Instagram stories, and through and through other social mediums, to us, it's really, it's that experience continuum that just keeps on going and keeps on going.
I wanted to sort of run with that, actually, because I love the fact that you guys are creating this world that's very comfortable. I keep thinking of this, the concept of like leveling the playing field, right? You've got these groups that trade shows and Infocom's great for what it's great for, right? You can learn all these things, and you're really focusing on the things that you or your company wants to learn and grow. And those, there's a lot of very deliberate conversations in there, but you really also have to be able to provide yourself a space where there's all those organic conversations that just happen to show up because you guys are, sharing a beer and you're waiting in the same line, and suddenly, you're putting people together who need to be together, but might not always naturally just sort of end up in the same room next to each other at more structured things. So I love the fact that your audience is including all these different people from these different backgrounds, because like you said, it's a full spectrum. It's not, it can't just be AV, but there's so many things that go into AV, and there's all these different pieces. And so I think leveling those playing fields between all those different audiences is just, it's a hard thing to do, but you get the right mix together. And I think if you start from a level of comfort, beer never hurt anything.
No.
It makes it a lot easier to have those conversations organically.
And I think by creating, last year in New York, we had a costume contest and kind of a little mini scavenger hunt. When we went to London, it was at a shuffleboard club. Literally, you could play shuffleboard. So by including these unique activities, this time we're going to have a polka band, and it's this whole German theme. I think that lowers the barrier to entry to creating a relationship even further, as opposed to, again, like Brian said, bad beer, finger foods, and, blue walls, where it's just like you're staring at each other, having an ego contest. Now, let's just strip all of that and let's just have a good time and just see what happens.
Absolutely.
I just want to say to Jeff, Melina and the Oompas are very authentic. I think, the Oompas alone, I think, are imported from Germany. So if that doesn't do it for your Oktoberfest, I don't know what will.
Yeah, if you've forgotten to take a drink of your beer in that amount of time, that's your reminder that you need to stop talking and go ahead and drink your beer.
Jeff and Patrick, I want to bring you guys on this. For guys and gals who have done this for a long time, there are tricks and to making the most out of these in-person networking events. For somebody who this might be their first event, right? Their first time to actually network with folks, or at least a level of creatives like this group will be. Jeff, what would your advice be to making sure that you get the most out of an event like this? Because it's an investment in time, if nothing else. Obviously, we got to pay for the beer, but also you as the attendee are going to be investing some hours here. How do we make the most out of this and make sure we get the most out of these events?
Yeah, I think Brian and Steven represent a pretty good group of guys that have a core relationship already. So if you're new, you don't recognize anyone in a group, seriously, this is the most approachable group of people. Walk up, interject yourself into a conversation, and just hear what they have to say. Don't be afraid to just jump into a group that, appears to be a bunch of friends hanging out. Move outside of your comfort zone and dive in, because those are the best conversations to get into, is when you have no idea what you're getting into. And, some of the best ideas and projects that I've worked on have started by sketches on a bar napkin. And you never know when those conversations are going to come up. And that's when you can really explore creative ideas. Take the I can't do this hat off for a minute and just dive into a creative conversation and say, where can we push the boundaries of this thing? With our technologies, they're intended to be free form, right? So diving into conversations that are outside of your comfort zone are perfect ways to explore kind of the next level of creative design concepts that are out there. And diving into those conversations that are happening is a perfect way to just interject yourself into a group and immediately gain a comfort level with that group of people. So, and everyone in this group is so inviting that if anyone's feeling apprehensive, just dive in. You're at a beer hall, just do it. It's going to be awesome. Patrick, you got any thoughts to add on to that?
No, I absolutely, completely agree with that. I think it's a perfect way to kind of phrase that. In addition, one thing I would say to build on that is specifically make sure you don't go there to talk to everybody that you already know. You've already had conversations with these people. You've already been on the phone with them. There is no point in wasting your time talking about the same thing that you've already talked about with them. Go meet somebody new, learn about some new projects, learn about a new technology, figure out something different, figure out a way that you can grow and develop your business beyond your existing relationships.
Very cool. As we wrap up here, guys, one question I actually want to start with Sam on this. Not for nothing, this is an investment in yes, the beer is going to be good. But there's a point to this, right? There's an idea here, and that's to better yourself professionally and personally, but also to help your business. How do you take this outside of the beer hall? How do you take it outside of this event and grow yourself and kind of grow your connections with your company?
I mean, I like to text everybody I know that's on my list a bunch of memes all the time. But beyond that, one of the ways that you can kind of make sure that you follow up with people. I mean, use your company's resources for social media, use your personal resources, but use your existing relationships like we've been talking about to grow your new ones as well. So as you make connections, make sure that you understand who they're already connected with and use, but don't misuse that to relationship that you have with this individual.
I just want to point out something, Patrick. I've never gotten a meme from you, so I'm not.
I mean, is it your work phone? That's my only question for you right now.
I have.
If it's your personal phone, I got you. But
all right,
if it's your work phone, inspired.
All right. Sam, same kind of question. How do you take this beyond the beer garden?
Yeah, I mean, I think to build on what Patrick said, I mean, you're there to connect with folks in a different level, and just assuming, once you've made a connection, you have to follow that through. It's a journey there. I like interacting on social. I think it's a great way to find those opportunities. I like to be able to follow up with folks, and I was like, over the years, you grow this crazy big network, and I've met people in 100 different ways. And when I'm going out, if I'm going to a different event at some point, I mean, it can be that simple. It's just, putting it out there or reaching out to folks and saying, hey, I'm going to this other cool thing. Is anybody else going? I'm always surprised at who goes and who doesn't, because those are all opportunities for that further connection. I think for us, being able to have those conversations with, the folks that are in AV, that's obviously huge, but also those very organic conversations with the folks that, may not think that they're AV people, but are certainly very much a part of the industry, and initiate those conversations. And I like to reach out directly. I like to, anybody that I met for the first time, you're going to get a LinkedIn, as long as you give me your business card, because I'm terrible with names, but, you're going to get a LinkedIn invite really, really fast, and just a little something about like, hey, it was great to meet you here, and I'm so glad we get to talk about this, because not everybody remembers, which is fair. I don't always remember, so I write it down. But being able to connect with folks, and find those little opportunities to make it a little more personal. And some people are going to have sort of this obvious, you're going to have, I really like what Jeff was saying, you're going to have those aha moments in that back of the napkin while you're standing around, and dancing off to the polka band. You're going to have those moments, you're going to write those down. But even the small introductions that you get, I mean, in those connections, there's always conversations to be had afterwards. So I think reaching out to those people that you have those good conversations with is absolutely key. And then keeping up with that.
Very cool. Yeah, Jeff, same kind of question. How do you take those business cards you're going to get and turn around and grow your network, but also grow the business?
So, as Sam was kind of saying, I usually will take some specific notes about what we talked about and try to really relate something to that. But in terms of even just being a somewhat passive connection in some cases, right? You don't have to be interacting directly all the time, but in terms of the things that this group is posting on LinkedIn and Twitter, there's a lot of really good information as far as creative ideas that are out there. I travel a ton, meet a lot of people, and see a lot of really creative things, but the amount of creativity that's out there will just inspire and at least inform you on other things that are possible and being done in the industry. And that's what keeps, my finger on the pulse of what's happening on the cutting edges of the technology industry as a whole, what's combining the technology and creativity. And that's where I think social media really can expand what's possible in the space of digital technology within this world, is really sharing those concepts and ideas that go from concept to completion. And those are the things that I continue to keep a pulse on. So that's where I get a lot of value from as well, beyond just the interpersonal connection.
Very cool. All right, Mr. Bacanza and Mr. Bryan, wrapping up here, any last words or words of encouragement and advice for people heading into New York in general?
I would say prepare to have a great time that evening. And I think Jeff kind of put it best is don't be afraid to say hi. There's a lot of, everyone is approachable and everyone is there just to have a really great experience. So don't feel shy, grab some rocks, bring the lederhosen, and prepare for a really fun night.
I just want to close it out, and we mentioned earlier that we are raising money for the Jerry Wolf Scholarship. And so for every $5 that you donate, and DSF will be there taking donations, you're going to get a raffle ticket. And we're going to be raffling off 4 unique New York City experiences. And these aren't, the atypical experiences. I mean, we're diving deep into the fabric of New York City. And so So definitely we want to encourage people to raise money. And then also whatever we do raise up to $500, we are going to match that. I mean, that's how strongly we feel about what Jerry is doing to the industry and to really the next generation of AV superstars out there. And so that's the least that we can do to an industry that's been so good to us.
Absolutely. All right. That is a good place to stop it. Folks, thank you so much. Mr. Patrick May, how do people get a hold of you or Legrand if they are so inclined, sir?
It is patrick.may at legrand.com, or legrandav.com. I don't want to give out my small phone number on the internet because I've gotten in trouble for that before, but please email me, patrick.may at legrand.com.
Right. Jeff Everson from Daktronics, how do people get a hold of you, sir?
Jeff.Everson at Daktronics.com or on Twitter at JeffEverson1.
All right, very good. Sam Minish, it was awesome to have you. This is the first time I ever got to do a podcast with Sam. So thank you so much. How do people get a hold of you or Avixa?
Avixa, I mean, the easiest way is sminish@avixa.org. You can feel free to call the main line, but shoot me an email over and obviously hit me up at the event, of course.
Absolutely. Mr. Picanza, if someone wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
There's a smoke signal that you could just throw out into the world, and I will find you. My best way is just hit me up on Twitter at Picanza, or just Google my name. I am the one and only in the world, so I will pop up. I'm Googleable.
All right, very good. And last but not least, OpenEye Global himself, Brian Mazzaros. How are you?
I just got to ask: is that a new word, Googleable?
I just made it up right now, dude. I don't know. Please do. He's Googleable.
He's Googleable.
Totally a word.
So cute. It's so cute.
I try.
So you can find me. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at OpenEye Global, or Brian Mazzaros as well. And then for more details about the event as well, experienceunitedsocialclub.com, and there'll be links to all the sponsors and all the details for the night that's there. So.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me on the Twitters. By the time this post, I will be somewhere between here and there. In the interim, I'm going halfway across the globe. So, but go by the website if you would please, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. You can check out our coverage actually of New York Digital Signage Week and our time that we'll spend with the folks at XUSC. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been